Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dalescenter betting preview for the Daytona 500. Better late than never. It's been a weird week for us here in the heart of America. Canceled my Daytona trip. Had some big things in store for this program, amongst other ideas for content creation. But as I said, better late than never. And welcome to Dale Tanhart here on YouTube. Hope you subscribe and continue watching our videos here on this brand new YouTube channel. I am Dale Tanhart, and welcome to Dalescenter. This is the preview for not only the Daytona 500, but the NASCAR Xfinity Series this Monday morning. And we've got some bets for both races. It's going to be a packed day of racing, and we're just going to get right into it. If you're used to watching Dalescenter, you're used to the live programs, the chat interaction, and you're going to see more of that in 2024. Trying something different here because of time constraints and how this weekend kind of unfolded. If you guys went down to Daytona and were pissed on by rain, I am so sorry. That is why I opted not to go. Today, the time that we're recording this, shout out to the GOAT, the legend, Dale Earnhardt, passed away 23 years ago on this day, February 18th, 2001. Just a reminder, we're always doing it for Dale, especially at Daytona International Speedway for the Daytona 500. Let's get right into it. Guys, welcome. We're talking XFINITY. Now, as you see on the bottom of your screen, you're going to see cup lines for the Daytona 500, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. That doesn't mean that they have the best lines. We've seen some line movement, especially since the duels at Daytona on Thursday night. We've seen some new contenders, some new guys people are talking about, and maybe some guys that we were talking about and are not talking about as much. And we're going to dive into that. But first, it starts with the Xfinity Series. I'm going to tell you my full Xfinity Series betting card ahead of the 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. Eastern Time race at Daytona International Speedway. Might still be raining, so it could get delayed a little bit, and some sports books might reflect leaving odds up on the board a little bit longer. Hell, and even if you want a live bet, you might be able to find some live action on several of these guys as the race unfolds. Number one play is A.J. Allmendinger. Guys, I've already decided I'm not betting on Austin Hill. He's 3-1, 3.5-1. You know RCR is going to have good race cars, but I just got to feel like Austin Hill's success, even though it is incredible, I just can't see him winning again, which he's done 2 out of the last 4 times here at Daytona. He is the Pied Piper of this series when it comes to the super speedways. You've got a lot of youth coming in. You've got some new faces in new places in this Xfinity Series. I rarely find myself able to bet on a driver 3-1, 4-1, even 5-1 at a super speedway, considering how chaotic these races typically are. The Truck Series was insane. The ARCA race was completely insane. I expect chaos again in the Xfinity Series on Monday morning, and for those reasons, I just cannot take Austin Hill. My number one play is going to be A.J. Allmendinger. I got 12-1. Several books right now are reflecting 9-1, 10-1. I would still bet him at that price. Kaulig Racing's been incredible at the super speedways. Now, as their driver lineup has changed over the past few years, with several guys going into the Cup Series like Daniel Hemrick, Justin Haley, Ross Chastain, they've kind of fallen off in terms of camaraderie and team success. A.J. Allmendinger is the one guy that continues to be the staple of Kaulig Racing. He's won at Talladega. He's knocked on the door at Daytona. The guy's always running up front, trying to lead laps, and he's always in the mix, not just at the road courses, but at the super speedways, which is why he's always running the Daytona 500 and other super speedways in the Cup Series as well. He's always knocked on the door winning at Daytona, not just in this series. And this series has been his playground over the years. I love A.J. Allmendinger as my top play. 12-1, 11-1, 10-1. Bet any of those lines. But be sure to scan the sports books, and I'll get into that here shortly. It's a big topic amongst NASCAR betting, and it makes your betting experience better. No pun intended there, but A.J. Allmendinger is a top play. I got him at 12-1 for 3/4 of a unit for Daytona Monday morning, the Xfinity Series. Second play, a guy I've talked about several weeks leading up into this race, Parker Kligerman. He's not my number one play, but he's my number one gut play. Parker Kligerman, I got 16-1. Right now, DraftKings is showing 18-1. Even after Parker Kligerman qualified really well, and considering what he did in that number 48 car in the Xfinity Series on super speedways in 2023. He finished third at Talladega, fourth at Atlanta, eighth at the next Atlanta, and fourth at Daytona. Literally every race except the season opening Daytona race at the beginning of 2023. He was a factor. He was a contender. He led laps, and he knocked on the door of winning. And I just love the mojo of this big machine racing team. Parker Kligerman, 18-1, I think is an awesome bet. Explore top 3, explore top 5 with Kligerman based upon how successful he was at the super speedways. When you throw Atlanta in there as well, drafting tracks in 2023, you've got to bet on Parker Kligerman. I think he's an awesome play. He's going to be aggressive, lead laps, run up front, and he's in a bow tie Chevy with an ECR engine relative or comparable to Austin Hill and Jesse Love, the RCR cars that are so fast. So we know he's got heat under the hood. He showed that last year in 2023. He's going to bring it again in 2024. Absolutely love Parker Kligerman. Next up, something I typically don't do, I've got a couple bets on Toyotas. Toyota has not won at Daytona in the Xfinity Series. I can't even tell you the last time. 2011 with Joey Logano. That's been a long time. We're talking like 30 races, right? Chevy has won 12 of the last 13 races at Daytona. Ford got one with Austin Cindric in spring of 2021. Other than that, it's been the Chevy show. And Sheldon Creed at 16-1 was really good here as a Team Chevy driver in the number 2 car. Runner-up at Talladega, runner-up in a photo finish at Daytona, led a lot of laps, contended for the wins. Still has not won an Xfinity race in 2 years, but he's been so close. And Toyota's brought in a guy that can get it done at Daytona. Sheldon Creed, I love at 16-1. I'd bet down to 14-1 for Sheldon Creed. The Toyotas didn't qualify super great because Chevy's always so good here in this series. I'm not worried about it. Toyota's going to be good with Sheldon Creed, a guy that has proven he can get it done and knock on the door at almost every super speedway track we go to. So give me Sheldon Creed, 16-1. Love that bet. I'm a Sheldon Creed guy. If you know me, you know that already. But keep an eye on Sheldon Creed for Monday morning's race as well. And then I'm going to bet on his teammate Chandler Smith. I love the 81 car, by the way. A little bit of bias there. Chandler Smith, I think, is a guy that no one's going to bet on. I think nobody is expecting Chandler Smith to do anything. This is kind of a gut play where I just feel really high on Chandler Smith having an awesome 2024 season. I think he's going to be one of the front runners to win the championship. And he's a teammate of Sheldon Creed. These guys are going to work together. They're going to be strong starting tomorrow morning, Monday morning, in the Xfinity race. I love Chandler Smith. 16-1, 18-1, 20-1. Whatever you can find, you play something on Chandler Smith. He's going to be the guy that could surprise some people at Daytona. Moving on, another gut play, even though it's affiliated with the fact that RCR has speed. And Sheldon Creed was in this car in 2023 and knocked on the door, as we previously stated. Jesse Love making his first Xfinity Series start. I got 20-1. I'd bet him down to 14-1 if you can find it. The car is going to be so fast. You know, we talk about Austin Hill and his 21, Chevy. Jesse Love. It would be kind of ironic if Jesse Love came out here in his first ever race as a teammate of Austin Hill and got it done. It's kind of a gut play. It's also kind of a statistical play based upon how good that car is. Give me Jesse Love. I'd bet down to 14-1. I have 20-1. Small play, but a play that I think could be worth it in the end, that I think a lot of guys aren't going to be betting on because they're going to be focused on Austin Hill and some of these other veterans in the Xfinity Series. Last few plays here, Ryan Sieg. Yeah, he didn't qualify great. Ford has only won one time here in the last 5 years, as I said earlier. But I like Ryan Sieg because a guy that has knocked on the door in all super speedway type of racing in the past 3 or 4 years has been Ryan Sieg. It's been his best shot to win. He's never won an Xfinity race, and he's been in this series, it feels like, for a fucking eternity. But Ryan Sieg has good horsepower under the hood of that number 39 car. He's good in the draft. He's knocked on the door of winning some of these super speedway races. I like Ryan Sieg at 66-1. I'd bet down to 50-1, 55-1 for Ryan Sieg. It's a good underdog play. Everybody likes an underdog. If we get some chaos, you never know what might happen. Ryan Sieg has been close before. I love a good underdog, and I love a good Cinderella story, and that could be Ryan Sieg on Monday morning. Final few bets. I got a flyer on BJ McLeod, 250 to 1. Hey, look, it doesn't matter to me if you tail this or not. There's no statistical evidence I could say on BJ McLeod, but he just made a fat lick by selling his Cup charter to another. I can't remember who bought it at this time, but he sold his charter in the Cup Series, made a shit ton of money. I gotta believe that he might be able to build some pretty good race cars, create some pretty good alliances in this number 78 Chevy in the Xfinity Series. You just never know. Give me BJ McLeod as a crazy long shot due to how crazy Daytona has been. You just never know. Everybody's rooting for BJ. It would be America's dream come true if BJ McLeod won this race. Small bet. I'm talking between $1 and $5 on BJ McLeod. I also bet on him for a top 5 at 22 to 1. You can now probably find that at 30 to 1, 35 to 1, maybe 40 to 1. Worth a couple bucks. Along with Garrett Smithley for a top 5. Same concept here. Garrett Smithley's been around a while. He's had glimpses. If you get some chaos, maybe Garrett Smithley peaks into the top 5. You're going to find Smithley on your markets very similar in the range of BJ McLeod. Maybe 30 to 1, 40 to 1 for a top 5. Worth a stab, especially when you consider what happened here fall of 2022 at Daytona when it was all chaos. Jeremy Clements won the race, and he was a 100 to 1 bet to win. And you had Timmy Hill, who was probably 100 to 1 for a top 3, finished second. So you just never know. Or I think he finished third. Regardless, that cashes as a top 3, as a top 5. We're going to ride a couple of those for the Xfinity race because we've seen it happen before, guys. And then Ryan Sieg, I think, is a good play for a top 5. I talk about the chaos that might happen. I talk about how good Ryan Sieg has been at times at these super speedway drafting style tracks. Give me a Ryan Sieg top 5, 8 to 1, 9 to 1. Hell, maybe you could find a 10 to 1 range if you scan the sports books. Guys, I cannot reiterate this enough. When it comes to NASCAR betting, you need to have multiple books. DraftKings, FanDuel's been garbage. I don't really care about FanDuel, but Hard Rock Bet. If you're in Florida, you can now legally bet on the Hard Rock app, the Hard Rock Bet app. That's also available in other states like Tennessee, Indiana, BetMGM, Bet Rivers, Fanatics, Bally. There's all sorts of sportsbook apps you can download if you're in a legal area. You got to check all of them out to find the best line available. You scan the sportsbooks, you give yourself potential of better profit than you would if you just only use the DraftKings sportsbook, right? So scan the sportsbooks, build a little, like a portfolio on your iPhone or whatever phone you have where you've got all your apps in one place, organize it, check them all before we hit the green flag for these races because you can find value. You can find discrepancies, and sometimes that's what it's all about when it comes to NASCAR betting. I messed up my my scroller here, whatever the fuck you want to call it, rundown thing. Manufacturer bet should be lower, and that's okay. That's okay. But that's my Xfinity betting card. Just to recap one more time, I'm on AJ Allmendinger, I'm on Parker Kligerman, Sheldon Creed, Chandler Smith, Ryan Sieg, BJ McLeod, Jesse Love. I got 7 outrights for the Xfinity Series. We had 8 outrights for the truck race on Friday night, and we hit on Nick Sanchez and still almost quadrupled our money. So it's worth having several outrights, more than what you would have for a basic race at Las Vegas, at a Bristol, at anything other than a super speedway. This would not be super smart. But with it being a super speedway, the books, with the way the odds are listed at these Daytona, Talladega races, you can have 6, 7, 8 outrights and still put yourself in a position where you can have a very solid profit when the checkered flag waves. So 7 outrights on those guys, and I got 3 top 5 bets on Ryan Sieg, Garrett Smithley, BJ McLeod. Hope for some chaos. I think we'll get it, and maybe some of those bets could emerge from the smoke at the end of said chaos. Now let's talk Daytona 500. You've seen the odds on the bottom of your screen, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm locked in. The only thing I might add, which you need to follow me at Dale Tanhart on Twitter, Instagram, join the Dalescenter betting or the Dalescenter NASCAR Discord in the link below. All those links will be below here on YouTube for you to keep in touch with me, keep updated on all the bets that I might add. The only bets I might add are stage bets and maybe one more outright to win the Daytona 500. There's a couple guys I'm looking at. I'm overthinking a little bit. And honestly, you just don't want to overthink for this race because anybody that knows what they're talking about or says they know what they're talking about when it comes to consistently picking winners for super speedway races, they don't have a fucking clue in reality. These races are so unpredictable. It's just very, very difficult to actually come here and use stats and use analytics and have a great idea of who's going to win this race because it's so unpredictable. And that's where the overthinking begins on, should I add this guy? Should I add that guy? There may be one of those that happens. And if you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, social media, Action Network, that link is below as well, where I post most of my cup bets. Check that out, and you will be up to date before we hit the green flag at 4 p.m. Eastern on Monday afternoon. With all this being considered, I want to talk about some manufacturer bets. Just two. Eric Jones, 9-1, top Toyota. I just think that line is way too long. I'd bet down to 7-1. Now, that 9-1, as I've scanned the books, I have not seen. But Eric Jones, I kind of was looking at RotoDoc, who's a contributor to the Action Network and has been a contributor to Dalescenter over the past year or so. And he kind of got me on the Eric Jones train. He's just such a good super speedway racer. He's always slept on. He's been so close to winning over the past couple years. He did win at Darlington in 2022. But at the super speedways in particular, he's won at Daytona. He's won the Clash before, even though it was crazy and kind of a joke. He's knocked on at the door of winning at Talladega multiple times. Eric Jones is a good sleeper play. You can find 30-1, 25-1 to win the race, which I do have. But 9-1, I'd bet down to 7-1 top Toyota for Eric Jones. And then Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace, I got it 6.5-1 top Toyota. I mean, what are we thinking? Guys, when we look at driver averages for super speedway races, just Daytona and Talladega in this sample, Bubba Wallace has the third highest average finish over the past 3 to 5 years when it comes to Daytona and Talladega, behind like Austin Cindric and Ryan Blaney. Minimum of 9 races between Daytona and Talladega. Bubba Wallace has been as good as it gets on the super speedways when it comes to consistency. Now, last year, the crazy part about this stat is this includes a down year for Bubba Wallace in 2023. He was not great at the super speedways. He had himself in positions to win and run top 5, but couldn't find himself making it to the end. He was involved in accidents, particularly at Talladega in the spring when he was leading on the final lap and made one bad block. Bubba Wallace still is tops in the Cup Series on average finish at the super speedways over the past several years. You've got to consider Bubba Wallace. You know, we talk about Denny Hamlin. Christopher Bell won one of the duels on Thursday night. Tyler Reddick won one of the other duels on Thursday night. I'm still high on Bubba Wallace. 6.5-1 top Toyota. I'd bet that down to 5-1, even though I love the value you get at 6-1 or better for Bubba Wallace. So manufacturer bets, I love those two guys for top Toyota. Remember, there's not very many Toyotas in this field. There's like 8 Toyotas when you consider that Jimmy Johnson, John Hunter, and Eric Jones have been added to that fleet with Legacy Motor Club in 2024. It's just those guys and then the Joe Gibbs guys. So what do we got? 7 Toyotas? 8 Toyotas? I think it's 7 when you look at it for the Daytona 500. Small fleet, one wreck could take out 5 of those guys. Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace, I think are good value plays in that regard to be the top Toyota in the Daytona 500. Now, I talked about scanning the sports books already. I'm going to reiterate that a lot at the beginning of the season for people that are new to NASCAR betting. It's such an important aspect of it, and anything you watch going forward, you're going to hear me talk about it, so just be ready. Now, my favorite Daytona 500 bets, and when I say favorite, they are my favorite. Now, the concept here is that one of these will hit. You bet both, and one of them will hit. I had a write-up on the Action Network, along with a lot of other very talented pro NASCAR betting experts, and they were about these 2 bets. The 2 bets, you bet both of them, hope one of them hits. If both of them hit, it's pandemonium, right? But the idea is that there's enough chaos and enough skill utilized by these guys that have a lot of skill at the super speedways that at least one of these guys will cash this bet for you. Favorite bet of the weekend, betting Justin Haley, 9-1 for a top 5, and David Reagan, 11-1 for a top 5. Now, as I've scanned the books, I'm going to look again, but I feel like some of these lines have moved since I've bet this. They've moved since I wrote about it on that Action Network piece. Right now, still available on Bet Rivers, the Canby books. Bet Rivers is awesome. I love this sports book. Very, very underrated for NASCAR markets on their betting platform is just really fucking good. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. It's just fucking great. Bet Rivers, very, very solid. And right now, you could still get Justin Haley 9-1 for a top 5 and David Reagan 11-1 for a top 5. I love these guys. Justin Haley's in that number 51 car, right? Everybody sees that 51 and they think Cody Ware. They think Rick Ware Racing, slow as shit. And I don't blame them because they have been. But if you paid attention to the offseason, Rick Ware now has an alliance with RFK. They have a lot of help from the race shop at RFK Racing. And RFK is if you're new, RFK is Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. That's kind of a tongue twister, whatever. They're very good at the super speedways. They bring very fast race cars. You see what Brad Keselowski did in 2023. Chris Buescher won a race at Daytona. These guys lead laps. They've dominated the Daytona 500 over the past couple years. And the 51 gets to be a part of that with Justin Haley, a guy that was so dominant at super speedways in the XFINITY series. In like a 3-year span, he won 4 races. And Cup hasn't worked out as well. But now we're talking about a team that has a lot of partners. They have a lot of help. With that 51 team, I imagine they'll be working with the 6 of Brad Keselowski. They'll be working with the 17 of Chris Buescher. And they got David Reagan, who made the race as a 3rd team from RFK Racing in the number 60 Ford Mustang. These guys are going to work together. Justin Haley, I think this is his best shot he's ever had to win the Daytona 500 in 2024. He's 80-1, by the way, to win the race. 80-1. A guy that had supreme dominance in the Xfinity Series with a different team, of course. But Justin Haley is a potential air seer, right? Justin Haley is a guy that could come out here and surprise some people. And he's even won at Daytona in the Cup Series. While it may have been lucky because of rain, doesn't matter. A win is a win, people. And Justin Haley for top 5 at 9-1, I think, is a great bet, combined with betting David Reagan at 11-1 for a top 5. Now, while the Cup Series statistics may not be there entirely for Justin Haley, they're absolutely there for David Reagan. This guy's hopped in as a part-time guy over the past few years, and he's had 3 top 10s in 4 starts at Daytona. Let me check if that's Daytona and Talladega. I think it's just Daytona. When we talk about David Reagan. Part-time guy. He's hopped in a Rick Ware car. He's hopped in a front row motorsports car. He's run top 10. He's a very smart super speedway racer. He knows how to avoid the chaos. And in 3 of his last 4 starts, he's done just that and ran right around the top 5. Crazy for a guy that has not been full-time in the Cup Series in several years. He jumps in at a super speedway and he shows he knows how to work the draft and is an underrated guy and a former winner at Daytona as well. With David Reagan, there's a reason why Brad Keselowski put him in this special race car, this number 60 car, a new project that they're doing for a part-time deal. David Reagan was a great choice and will be a great choice because I think he's going to run up front. He's going to survive the chaos, and he's going to be right there at the end to get a top 5. Bet both of them, Justin Haley and David Reagan, and you hope that one of them cashes. I think these guys are being heavily slept on to run up front. I've got a ticket on Justin Haley to win at 80-1, but I particularly love these 2 plays. Top 5 for both of them. Take them at Bet Rivers, 9-1 and 11-1 for each of these guys, respectively. And now we get to the cream of the crop. Guys, if anybody tells you they know what they're talking about for the Daytona 500, they don't have a fucking clue. We may have just hit the quota on F-bombs. I don't want to get fined. I think that's 4 or 5 now. But my bets for the Daytona 500, as I said earlier, be following on these social media platforms and Discord to be sure that you get any other add-ons I feel frisky about throwing in for my betting card of the Daytona 500, including stage bets. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, a stage bet I like, Austin Cindric. I may not have an outright on him yet, but I love Austin Cindric because he's very aggressive. He's starting up front. Stage 1, Stage 2. He's like 16-1, 17-1. This guy's won stages in the past at super speedways, and he's a Daytona 500 winner, February of 2022. Watch out for Austin Cindric. 16-1 to win a stage? The guy runs up front. He leads laps. He's aggressive. He's in a fast Ford. Watch out for that. Austin Cindric to win Stage 1 and Stage 2. I'm probably going to bet both of those. But when it comes down to outrights to win the Daytona 500, that's probably why you're here at the end of the day. We've been going only 24 minutes. I've actually been very efficient on time because these programs, when they're live, Typically run about an hour, hour and a half because I read the chat. We go back and forth. We dick around a lot. We have a lot of fun. But we're getting straight to the point here on this special edition of Dalescenter for the Daytona 500. And it starts with Brad Keselowski, 12-1. You can find 12-1 or 13-1 still available. He's my number one play to win the Daytona 500. He still has never won this race. He has still never been a bride, as Mike Joy likes to say. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride of the Daytona 500. This is the year that changes, guys. He's been my number one bet going back to December, going back to January. I love Brad Keselowski to win and break through in the Daytona 500. He's led the most laps in this race 2 years in a row, and he's come up so close, just short. I think it's Brad's time. I think when you consider what he's done in this 6 car at the super speedways, in the Gen 7 era starting in 2022, he won a dual race to kick off the 2022 season. He's contended for wins, top 5 at Talladega, second at Atlanta, dominated the second Atlanta race in 2023. Rain got in the way and ruined that opportunity for him. And, of course, the Daytona 500 where he's been knocking on the door. 2021, you can go back there, when he went to pass his then teammate, Joey Logano, in the final lap. Logano makes a bad block. They both wreck. He's just put himself in an opportunity, in a position to win this race so many times. So many times. He's such a smart super speedway racer. He's arguably one of the best in the business when it comes to super speedways and drafting. Watch out for Brad Keselowski. He's my number one play to win the Daytona 500. Big bet. I've got a unit and a quarter on Brad Keselowski to win the 66th Daytona 500 on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. He's my number one play. I can't stop talking about him. I've talked about him all week. I've talked about him all offseason. It's Brad Case time. He is going to win the 66th Daytona 500. But in case he doesn't, hear me out on my other bets. I'm on Ryan Blaney, 13-1. I'm on Chase Elliott, 15-1. I'm on this idea that a Hall of Famer driver, caliber driver, is going to win the Daytona 500. Past 3 years, we've had Ricky Stenhouse win last year. We had Michael McDowell win the year before. Austin Cindric win the year before, and Michael McDowell the year before that. It's no hate against these guys, of course, because I love Ricky Stenhouse. He's a good friend of mine, and he's a beast at the super speedways. But these drivers I'm talking about are already solidified Hall of Famers. And Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney. I'm expecting one of these guys to break through and win the Daytona 500. It's about time that a Hall of Famer comes through and wins this race. I'm not even going to go through statistics on these guys. You know Blaney's very good at the super speedways. Chase Elliott's won at Atlanta. He's won at Talladega. He's knocked on the door at winning at Daytona. He was competitive in the dual race on Thursday night. That made me feel good, but I'm getting right down to it when it comes to my outrights to win the Daytona 500. Moving on, we got Bubba Wallace, 20-1. Once again, Bubba is so good at the super speedways, guys. He's one of the top drivers in the Cup Series when it comes to average finish at Daytona and Talladega. We're always sleeping on him. He's been a runner-up in this race twice. I mean, Bubba Wallace has been phenomenal at the super speedways, and that's considering a down year in 2023. Just crazy that we get him at 20-1, 18-1 range just about every year, and you can still find that right now. So Bubba, Blaney, those guys are auto bets at the super speedways every time for me. I think just going on general strategy, you put yourself in a better spot at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta when you bet the same guys. And those same guys, for me, are the guys that I always see running up front and leading laps. That's Blaney, that's Bubba, that's Brad K. I'm adding Elliott to the fold here because I love the narrative of the comeback year, even though his stats don't lie either. As I said, former winner at Atlanta in the super speedway style racing, former winner at Talladega, two-time winner at Talladega, I should say, and he's knocked on the door at winning at Daytona, and he has won a dual race here before and been competitive in all sorts of Daytona races over the past few years. And then I got Justin Haley, 80-1, as I said earlier. Yeah, I know I just made the Hall of Famer pitch, but you got to have some variety and you got to have some underdog plays when you consider that McDowell, Stenhouse, and Cindric were all at least 35 to 40-1 at some point leading up to the Daytona 500 before they cashed some tickets. And then Joey Logano. How could I leave him out? He was my later ad because I feel like everybody's been sleeping on Logano. Logano won Atlanta, spring 2023. He's a former Daytona 500 champion. He's won Talladega multiple times. Joey Logano is being slept on by just about everybody. I got a ticket on him at 12-1. You can still find him in that range, in that territory. I bet down to 10-1 for Joey. He got the pole for the Daytona 500, which to me doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean anything. I just really like how talented Logano is. I like the narrative that people are forgetting about him. I also like the narrative that pole winners never win the 500, rarely do. It's going to scare people away. Everybody's betting on Kyle Busch because of the juju. It's the 20th try. It's actually the 19th try because he was hurt that one year. But I can't bet on Kyle Busch. I think that's one thing I've decided I'm not going to do because February 18th is a juju day for RCR. It was the death of Dale Earnhardt in 2001. And the only 2 times the Daytona 500 was run on February 18th after Dale Earnhardt's death, they were won by RCR drivers, in Kevin Harvick in 2007 and Austin Dillon in 2018. This Daytona 500 was scheduled to run on February 18th, but it has been rained out and postponed to February 19th. That alone, guys, has the juju completely offset for RCR when it comes to the Daytona 500. And Kyle Busch, who is in the 8 car, I can't do it. Everybody's betting on Kyle Busch. America never gets what they want when it comes to pro sports, guys. And America wants Kyle Busch to win the 66th Daytona 500. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm sorry. It's been a big, hot topic. You look at the statistics. I saw BetMGM has released handles and liabilities. Excuse me. Kyle Busch is one of the biggest ticket holders, or not ticket holders, but a bet on Kyle Busch is the hottest ticket right now for the Daytona 500, and it's one of the biggest liabilities to the BetMGM sportsbook. I'm sure that is universal on most other reputable sportsbooks in the United States when it comes to just betting tickets. When it comes to who has bet, they're all betting on Kyle Busch. I'm not doing it this time around, guys. I can't do it. And my final bet, I talked about it earlier, Eric Jones, 30-1. That's completely tailing RotoDoc. I kind of talked myself into it, getting a little too much, just too analytical, too into my head. That's fine. It's just going to happen with me because I'm an analytical guy. There's no one more analytical than RotoDoc. So I feel good about tailing that at 30-1. I'd bet that down to 25-1 for Eric Jones, underrated super speedway racer. So to recap here, before we sign off, my bets for the Daytona 500. Brad Keselowski to win. Ryan Blaney to win. Joey Logano to win. Eric Jones to win. Justin Haley to win. Chase Elliott to win. And Bubba Wallace to win. Those are my picks to win the Daytona 500. Once again, for like the 800th time, I'm going to reiterate. Follow me on social media as you see to the left or to the right. No, we fucked that up. Let's go back. Boom. All this stuff right here. Check it out. And be sure to join a brand new NASCAR Fantasy League over on GridRival, a new partner of Dale Earnhardt. GridRival is a brand new game they took from Formula One. They're applying it to NASCAR. It's very fun, very, very intricate in how it's designed. It's complex. It's way better than any NASCAR fantasy game I've ever played. We've already got upwards of 450 players, and you can join anytime, guys. You can join anytime. If you miss a Daytona 500, that's fine. Join the next week. You still have a chance to win $1,000. That's what's up for grabs, and it's free to join, courtesy of GridRival, brand new NASCAR Fantasy League, courtesy of them, and hosted by yours truly, Dale Earnhardt. So be sure to check that out too. And to recap, manufacturer bets, I got Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace, top Toyota, and the top 5 bets. My favorite play, betting both Justin Haley and David Reagan for top 5 of the Daytona 500. Guys, did it a little bit differently this time. We consolidated, and I still yapped my ass off. And I hope you enjoyed this special edition of Dalescenter ahead of the Daytona 500 on Monday. Don't forget the XFINITY bets too. That's going to be a fun race. All ahead on Monday. It's going to be a packed Monday afternoon, Monday night of racing, and I'm super excited. Hope you guys are too. Be sure to keep following everywhere for Dale Earnhardt. Just look around. You'll see it. You'll see me. And keep up to date on everything for all my bets ahead of the 2024 season. And weekly, every single week we'll be doing this, probably in a live capacity, but you get the point. Thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy the Daytona 500. And good luck on cashing some bets and winning some motherfucking money. Thanks again.